In an interview that Eddie Hearn did with Sky Sports this week, he said that Anthony Joshua's next opponent could actually be Kubrat Pulev in November. The other two opponents being talked about are Berman Stavern and his mandatory challenger, Joseph Parker. So these are the three names. Now, as far as Kubrat Pulev goes as an opponent, he's interesting. Pulev is best known to most boxing fans for getting bombed out by Vladimir Klitschko in pretty spectacular fashion. Many people viewed Kubrat Pulev at that point in time, and probably still do now, as somewhat of an overhyped contender who was supposed to go in there and do something against Vladimir, but ended up hitting the canvas on numerous occasions and getting taken out in brutal fashion. But I've always thought more highly of Kubrat Pulev than those people, at least. And I've always felt that emotions got the better of him in the Klitschko fight. And I don't think that was a true reflection of how good he is as a fighter or what he can do. Now, I'm not sitting here telling you that Kubrat Pulev is going to take over the division. I'm not telling you that he's the heir apparent. I'm not telling you none of that. All I'm saying is, I think he is world level. I think he is a high quality fighter. And up until the Klitschko fight, he'd barely put a foot wrong. He beat Ustinov. He beat Dimitrenko. He beat decent level opposition up until he fought Vladimir Klitschko. And most recently, obviously, he beat Derek Chisora for the European heavyweight title. And he did so pretty decisively. People would say it wasn't as dominant as Tyson Fury beating Chisora, and I think that's fair. But at the same time, I think that Chisora was more motivated and more energized for the Kubrat Pulev fight than he was for the Fury rematch. That's my personal view. So, I think the Chisora that Pulev fought was more of a handful than the Chisora that Tyson Fury fought. Just my opinion, like I say. The one that Tyson Fury fought in the rematch anyway. In the first fight, even though Chisora wasn't in good shape in the first Fury fight, I feel like he had more energy in that fight than he had in the rematch. Don't get it twisted. Tyson Fury had improved massively between the first fight of Chisora and the second fight. So that obviously played a very big factor as well in why it wasn't really that competitive. Anyway, let me not get bogged down in talking about Tyson Fury and Chisora. Kubrat Pulev is an opponent for Anthony Joshua. It's interesting. He has a European style, very old school Soviet style, leaning back, fencing with a left hand. He's got that great, powerful left jab. Not really a big power puncher. And I think that's why Eddie Hearn's looking at it. Berman Stavern really can punch very hard. But Berman Stavern's not really, well, he's a short heavyweight for one. He's a plodder. He's slow on his feet. So maybe Eddie Hearn's thinking, he's not going to catch Joshua. He's too short, he's too slow, too much of a plodder. Kubrat Pulev, on the other hand, is a much taller guy than Stavern. Not as tall as Joshua, but he's tall. He's got a good jab. He's more mobile than Stavern, quicker on his feet, but he don't have Stavern's power. So from a technical point of view, I think Stavern would be more of a challenge than Stavern. I think Pulev would be more of a challenge than Stavern for Joshua from a technical point of view, without having the danger of being a massive puncher. So yeah, I quite like the Pulev fight for Joshua. I still don't know why they're not talking about Johan Dupar, because the excuse for fighting Dominic Breazeale was that he's American and they want an American fighter to go up against Joshua on Joshua's Showtime debut. All right, fair enough. Well, now they're talking about Pulev. He's not American, so they're obviously willing to bring in non-American fighters for this next defense of his IBF heavyweight title. Why are you not talking about Johan Dupar? Why is he not in the conversation? He's coming off a great win. And we know he's going to come to fight. We know he ain't going to be scared. We know he's got size. Do they think that Dupar's too dangerous? Is that what Eddie Hearn's thinking? Maybe. Maybe he is. Look at the way he sparked out Robert Helenius, a big puncher, in his last fight. Interesting. I'm quite disappointed that he's not in the conversation. And instead, they've got a guy in Stavern who is a big puncher, but he's very slow on his feet and not good at coming forward. And then they've also got Pulev, who is a good boxer, who can move, but he's not really a big puncher. You see what I'm saying? It's like Hearn is trying to protect his investment as much as he can without making it look too obvious. Just my opinion. So, yeah, Pulev would be interesting. I'd like to see how Joshua deals with his jab. I'll be picking Joshua to win, don't get it twisted. But I'll be interested to see how he deals with Pulev from a technical point of view. Because I saw Joshua fight a couple guys with a style similar to Pulev's in the amateurs. In fact, maybe I'm getting this wrong, but I believe the guy who fought Joshua in the finals of the World Championships in the amateurs, it might have been him who had a similar style to Kubrat Pulev. I can't remember now, but I saw loads of Joshua's amateur fights, long before he was in the Olympics. And he definitely fought a guy who had a style similar to Pulev, that kind of old school Eastern European style with, pulling his head back from punches and fencing with a left hand. And I remember Joshua having problems with him. Obviously, that was a Joshua over a long, long time ago, and he's improved massively since then. But I'd still like to see how Joshua deals with it. Now, one thing that Pulev had a big problem with in the Klitschko fight was a left hook. He kept getting caught repeatedly with a left hook. He managed to take Vladimir's jab away. He did that pretty successfully because Pulev himself has got a very good jab. And he didn't get caught with that many Klitschko right hands. I mean, there was a couple that actually rocked him, but it was more the left hook that Pulev found a problem. Now, Anthony Joshua has always had a good left hook. Even from the amateurs, I saw Joshua knock people out badly with that left hook. And he throws it almost instinctively. When an opponent comes at him, he'll throw it as a counter usually. He'll pull back and throw this left hook. He occasionally leads with it, but normally he waits for his opponent to come in and then he throws it. Whereas the left hooks that Pulev was getting caught with in the Klitschko fight were lead left hooks. Vladimir didn't wait for Pulev to come at him. He would go at Pulev and throw the shot when he would see Pulev's hand down. So there's the potential there for Joshua to try and see if he can exploit the same gap in Pulev's defense that Vladimir Klitschko exploited. Let me know how you feel about Pulev as a potential opponent for Joshua. Who would you prefer, Stavern or Pulev? Most people think Stavern would be more durable, but most people may feel that Pulev presents more of a challenge in terms of, from a technical perspective. Pulev was a very experienced amateur, for example, very experienced international amateur. So, let me know who you prefer out of those two fighters as a next defense for Joshua. And would you, like me, like to see Johan Dupar also in that conversation? Drop it all in the comment section below. It's your boy Hatman. I'm out.